Hello friends, hope you are fine. I'm also fine. I'm back from the short creative vacation, and I'm going to continue this vlog about the Ukrainian situation around of Ukraine. Only information, only honesty and pragmatic news from our country and abroad. President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, signed laws on extending martial law and mobilization for another 90 days. That is until November 15, 2023. This is already the 8th sequel since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion to Ukraine. According to the current legislation, Article 83 of the Constitution of Ukraine, Article 18 of the Law of Ukraine on the legal regime of martial law makes it impossible to hold election in the country at least until the end of the year. The next parliamentary election should have been held on October 29, 2023, and they will not be leaded in the date. Moreover, it is very likely that if elections cannot be held in the spring of 2024, I'll remind you that the presidential elections are scheduled for March 31, 2024, then they may not be in the country for a long time. The ongoing war is already causing distortion of the political system and challenges to the legitimacy that will only intensify over time. At the front, both Russian and Ukrainian troops are conducting local offensive operations in different directions, but no serious breakthroughs have yet been observed. In the Zaporozhye region, Ukrainian troops continue offensive operation in the Melitopol and Berdyansk directions and on the Veremyevska ledge. The Ukrainian armed force liberate a number of positions in the east of the settlement, Rabotino, and now they are trying to use them to break through the front. According to rumors, Ukraine is concentrating large forces on the southern front and is preparing to launch the third stage of a massive offensive in the very near future. The first was in early June, and the second, according to the Western media, started in late July, early August, after the commissioning of the reserves of 10th Army Corps of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Ukraine has moved reserves also to the Liman and Kupiansk direction in the east of Ukraine, where Russian troops are trying to launch an offensive. In the Bakhmut direction, Russian troops unsuccessfully tried to advance in the area of settlement of Bogdanovka in the Donetsk region. Ukrainian troops continue to hold back the advance of Russian units in the areas of Avdiivka and Mariinka Donetsk region. The Russian Federation plans to hold early election in the part of the occupied territories, Donetsk, Zaporozhye and Kherson regions. So early voting will take place from August 31 to September 7, whereas the main voting day in the Russian Federation is September 10th. This means that Moscow once again raises the stakes and demonstrates the rigidity of its position in Ukraine. Such a step on the part of the Russian Federation is a signal that they are not going to give up the occupied and annexed territories of Ukraine, even within the framework of some future agreements on a peaceful settlement. A breakthrough by the Ukrainian army during the current military campaign has not yet been ruled out. But the advance of the front of the armed forces of Ukraine is not going as fast as the allied countries of Ukraine expected before. In this regards, articles in the Western press are increasingly appearing that the counteroffensive has failed, the armed forces of Ukraine are suffering heavy losses in manpower and Western equipment. In general, such publications investing regarding to the lack of the significant results of Ukrainian troops at the front, or even statements that Ukraine will have to make territorial concessions for the sake of European Union and NATO membership, may indicate growing fatigue with the political system of Ukraine's allies associated with growing cost and internal political crisis in these countries. And also about the attempt to establish stable control over the course of the war in Ukraine, especially on the eve of the difficult presidential election in the United States, the new winter energy-consuming period, and elections in the United Kingdom and other European countries. Protracted hostilities without the clear advantages of the parties are already partially affecting their political position. Thus, the Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, Alexei Danilov, said that in the peace formula of President Vladimir Zelensky, the basic principles cannot be changed, but the sequences, the numbering of points can be changed. This statement about the possibility of reviewing the procedure for implementing the points of the peace plan of Vladimir Zelensky can be regarded as a proposed compromise by Ukraine in the framework of the future negotiation process, which will be intensified after the consultation in Copenhagen, Denmark, and Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. In particular, this may mean that Ukraine is considering the possibility of starting a negotiation process without the liberation of all the occupied territories and freezing the conflict, to which Ukraine leadership categorically did not agree before. Recall that the peace plan of Vladimir Zelensky are from following points. The first point is radiation and nuclear safety. Second, food safety, energy security, release of all prisoners and deportees, implementation of United Nations Charter and restoration of territorial integrity and world order, withdrawal of Russian troops and cessation of hostilities, return of justice, counteracting ecocide, avoiding escalation, fixing the end of the war. In such points as the withdrawal of Russian troops, the punishment of those responsible, the payment of reparation are brought to very end. This will mean that their implementation is regarded as an unlikely scenario and more likely a political declaration. Any truce agreements are likely to be implemented only in the first few points or main part, but not all. It's not very often. At the same time, Ukraine spends a third of budget on payments to the military. Since the beginning of this year, 520 billion hryvnias have been spent on the maintenance of the military from the general fund of the budget. That is a third of expenses during this time. More than half of this amount goes to the armed forces of Ukraine, 270 billion spent on military equipment, weapons, ammunition, fuel, and food for the military. In particular, 41% of the total volume was spent on the salaries with a different type of accruals. Thank you, friends, for watching this vlog. One more, my celebration and my wishes to Ukrainian Independence Day, and see you again next weekend.